Hi, this is Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Yeah, we'll go with the Western music tonight. You know, why the hell not? Welcome to Safety Wars for Tuesday, September 16th, 2025. Yes, we're going to be the safety shock jock today. We're going to have, I feel like putting in this warning here, Got to be a warning here. Hold on, let's get the right sound effect here. Warning! Warning! This is a Jim Posel epic rant. You have been warned. So, last week, again, we were talking about Charlie Kirk and his assassination, murder, or anything else, and everything else. We're going to talk about that briefly here because we had some time to reflect this past weekend, hear what other people were saying. And how does that relate to safety? How does that relate to it? What are we doing? Pardon me, something in my eye, I know. So we looked at a lot of the videos here on social media, and people, it's either you loved them or you hated them. A lot of people, everybody, I think, respected him to a point. So, well, Jim, after all those horrible things people said about him, well, how could you say that people respected him? Well, if they didn't care about him, they wouldn't have said anything, right? I was told many years ago, the biggest offense you could give someone is not to insult them, it's to ignore them, right? And you're going to say, well, what do you mean? Well, if he wasn't affected about what he was doing, they probably would have ignored him. Completely ignored him. I hate to say that, but that may sound simplistic, but sometimes Occam's razor, the simplest thing, right? It's true. But I got to thinking, how does this relate to what we do here? We're not the first. Now, won't be the last. Not the only host on this network that says this. Probably heard about it on this network. Camera keeps moving here. I don't know why. Ask better questions. Just ask better questions. Less confrontational. If you ask the right questions, maybe you could get people to see your side, question their side. So when I went to college, way back in the olden days, right, we were working with tablets, different kinds of tablets. I'm only joking. A lot of tablets in college today. We knew that the teachers, I was in the environmental studies program then it was Stockton State College, now Richard Stockton University of New Jersey. I think that's the name. We knew where they were coming from. We knew that they were extremely liberal. But what would happen is asking questions. Why do you believe what you believe? And making a case. This is what you want to think about. Lynn Stiles, rest in peace. He was the first class I ever took there. He did name of the class is Energy and Environment. and it was an energy class. But one of the things was, why do you think the way that you do? And wasn't very good. I mean, because I look at the upbringing I had. Now, I've talked about it here. Look at the education I had up to that point. That was not part of it. That's not the way I was raised, was questioning it. My father tried all different ways, but didn't work out so good. Why do you believe what you believe? And you had to defend that argument. And, looking back at different Christian radio shows, I think Jay Allen might be able to relate with this because that's where he got his start, I believe, is in Christian radio way back. They took offense. How dare they question what we say? And you're sending your children, this is back in the 90s, 80s. Hey, you're sending your children X, Y, and Z, and they're questioning, and they're blah, blah, blah. And guess what? There was a lot that pissed you off. It did piss you off. Well, I've been told X, Y, and Z. Now this professor is questioning. It wasn't that to indoctrinate you necessarily. Some people got indoctrinated. They said, wow, yeah, that's right. And they're not deep thinkers. They're like, oh, F it. I need an A in the class. I need to be in the class. I don't want to piss this person off. And the professors really didn't care what you thought. But can you defend what you thought? This is what we believe. This is why we believe it. Right? Tell us where we're wrong. Now, the shoe is on the other foot. And I think that's what the moral of the story is here, the whole Charlie Kirk thing. Whether you like him or not, whether you agreed with him or not, right, I think he raised some pretty valid questions as far as what are we doing and why are we doing it? And it went all the way through. Now, people say, well, he was a racist. I don't believe the guy was a racist. Well, he was a homophobe. I don't think that the guy was a homophobe. Well, the guy was, I really don't think. Might have in his heart of hearts, I don't know, I'm not a judge here, but the fact that he questioned things is what the issue. Well, how do we question? People have been sending me crap all weekend on this since last Thursday. And we also got the other side of this also, right? And asking questions. And guess what? It pisses people off. Now, let's make it into the safety realm here. Ask better questions. Rather than issue someone a rule and say, look, this is what the rule is, blah, blah, blah. And an emergency response, we're going to talk about that disaster preparation here today a little bit more. You may have to do that with disaster emergency. Hey, this is what we're doing, blah, blah, blah. We don't have time to sit here and have our, stevia-based soda here and a cup of coffee and sit around like we do with the donuts and the coffee in the trailer talking about, well, how are we going to work? We don't have that. Hey, you got to do it. This is what it is. This is what the training is. Blah, blah. You train, you plan out as much as you can and everything else. You have the incident commander. Okay, we got all that. Right? But what do we do in the safety field? What do we do? And I'm going to have that book, and I have it here. We're going to talk about this a little bit more in a short, a reel, right? Because there's, right here we have the Signal Transmission Trilogy by Jay Allen. What's this about? This is a question, right? This 3-volume set is a question. Why are we doing what we're doing? Do you ever go to a job site? And now a lot of you are HOP practitioners, human organizational professionals. So we got a little video at the end here that I put together on human organizational performance. Behavior-based safety. I was doing a very high-level presentation Monday for a CEO of a company. why? No, this is what we do traditionally, but why are we doing it that way? I did another one yesterday with a whole bunch of workers there on one of the projects I'm involved in. Why are we doing this? And guess what? There's a lot of very uncomfortable people out there when you ask why. Because then it's like, well, we're told that this is how it works. Behavior-based safety, and we're going to break out the Heinrich triangle, and we're going to try to reduce at-risk behaviors. And, if those damn workers don't reduce their at-risk behaviors, we're going to have a dangerous job site here. And then you have somebody coming along, like Todd Conklin, Jay Allen, Brent Sutton, any of the number of the other 17 other hosts here on Safety FM saying, and plus more that out there, well, first of all, why are we doing this? Is the zero goal run to zero, right? Zero goals. We're going to have zero accidents, zero injuries, zero illness. Why are we doing that? And does that work? Well, how dare you say that? So a lot of this, what we do, and I think what Charlie Kirk did was question. Again, he had a point of view and everything. But this is not different than what the college professors did when I was in college. Why do you believe that? Right? And the philosophy classes, the ethics classes. When I went to graduate school, we had a class called environmental ethics. Full semester class, and I had a lot of, believe me, we had to really, 900 pages, we had to read that in 1 week. Every week, 900 pages. Different textbooks and everything. And guess what? It was good for the soul. Looking back, I hated it at the freaking time, but good for the soul. And the professor said, look, it's not my intention to change the way that you're thinking. It's my intention to get you to see something else from someone else's point of view, which I claim is my superpower, and understand it and agree or disagree and why. That's what this is. And at the end of it, I think he liked me at the end because I was an older, non-traditional student at this point. All these young people, right? Some of the undergrad were taking graduate level courses because they were in a combined program, right? Bachelor's and master's degree program combined. And oh yeah, and fantastic people, fantastic writers. One of the people in that class became very, very prominent in the environmental community in New Jersey. So, took over an organization, very successful. I'm not going to do a shout out. Very, very intelligent and everything. Better writer, better, more articulate, smarter than me in a lot of ways when it came to reading and everything else and being well read. And they're all eating it up. Oh, well, I said, why are we doing this? Why? And it's a professor student, and you ask. The professor was like, oh, we got a live one here. Okay, let's talk about this. Why do you do this? And we got into a discussion one class. We were like, shut up, shut up, shut up. Blah, blah, blah. Even then I taught them, shut up. We want to get on the watch. And you know what? We had a very nice discussion during the class. He says, and at the end, he said, okay, let's talk about this after class. No, after a while, he said, because there's some material we want to go over, and I want to continue this after the class. Whoever wants to say we're going to continue this. Professor by the name of Dr. Eric Katz. A great guy. Again, discussion. We had the same thing in senior year in undergrad school with Alice Gitchell. She taught 2 classes on water quality and air quality. And again, same thing, discussion. Isn't that what the college is for? So here we have the shoe on the other foot here, where you get people very upset where people question, people give their point of view. I work with different organizations, and a lot of people have conversations with me about their organizations. They're not even construction, environmental cleanup, disaster response, or they're general industry, office setting type of thing. And people get on because of the political situation, and they get upset. They go rambling on and on and on, screaming and yelling. And everybody's like, you know what? This is a Zoom call. This is supposed to be 35 minutes. And this person just took up 20 minutes talking about political stuff, whether it be, whatever. And it's like, well, we're here to talk about X, Y, and Z. Now you're talking politics. Getting very upset and everything. God forbid anyone should challenge anything that we do or say. And I think this could be one of the many quote-unquote root causes here. If someone you feel is being a racist, why don't you go out there and say, well, you know what? Let's have a discussion on that. Someone's against whatever behavior, whether it's a, sexual behavior or sexual type of thing, which was one of the things that Charlie Kirk talked about, whether it was race relations, legalities, different things, philosophy, what have you. Why don't we have these discussions? So my wife and I don't always agree on things. Like most couples, we're not going to agree on everything. But when we have a discussion, right, now we're to the point because we realize that there's not a lot of good role models out there. Everyone wants to be a team, right, on a team. You're on this team, on that team. Well, let's have a discussion in front of the children on a situation. No, not nothing that's going to upset the apple cart as far as their security or anything, right? Or make them worry about it, right? Well, let's have a discussion. And we have a discussion. And my wife has her point of view. I have my point of view. And we discuss it. And it's like, no, we're not here to win an argument. We're here to have a discussion so we can go and do that. I'm not patting myself on the back, but we make a concerted effort to do that. People are not learning that. Everything's an offense. Well, and it does get into the health and safety realm. It got into our health and safety realm during COVID. We have these procedures and these controls in place. This is what they are. Well, you're taking away my agency. Or we get this other one, right? Don't take it out of the COVID realm. Well, you know what? If I get hurt, it's my issue. It's not your issue. And I'm going to do what I want because I don't agree with your hazard assessment. They don't use hazard assessment. They say bullshit. I don't agree with it. This, and then you get into this whole thing where, with this. And then you find out behind closed doors with a lot of management out there. And of course, you can't challenge anyone as safety professionals sometimes. I don't give a shit whether they fall off the side of the building. I got to get this building built. F the fall protection. Sound familiar? Oh, yeah. Should sound very familiar if you're a safety professional. So you get in there, you got people who can't, and now we're to the point where people are getting that much more upset, right? Upset over things, and now they do rash things. And by the way, if you listen to The Five yesterday on Fox News, I watched it live, right? I don't normally watch Fox News, I'll be honest with you. Usually don't watch any news. I go right to the news wires, because we talk about news here. Where he says, no, not either side is, it's all it's coming from one side, and we know blah, 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 and he ripped apart the co-hosts there. And it's like, well, you know what? I was in right-wing politics for many, many years. I consider myself on the libertarian wing of the Republican Party. I'm the one who used to call Rush Limbaugh a liberal. Oh, yeah. That's where I'm at. So, I'm to that point. I've been to a lot of different things. I've seen a lot of things. Does violence or anything happen on the right? Yeah, sometimes it did. You had all different things throughout history on the right wing. You have a lot of stuff on the left wing. 1960s, violence was unbelievable. We had high-level assassinations. We had a president assassinated. We had a civil rights leader assassinated. We had a presidential candidate assassinated. The last two in the same, within months of each other. You look at other countries, a lot of the same stuff goes on. There's a lot of violence and a lot of political violence out there. And what do we need to do? Have discussions. You have discussions. You learn. And then come to an agreement on something. Work towards something. We live in a representative republic. Encourage your representatives to have discussions rather than arguments. This is a question for you. I'm going to leave you with this question. It's going to sound a little bit conspiratorial. Just a little bit. Who benefits from this? With all this angst, who benefits? And with that, that's my opening monologue. What do you think about that? We're going to come back on something else also. And
from the front lines of the safety war, it's Safety Wars with your host, Jim Posel on Safety FM. Get ready to face the harsh reality.
Safety Wars is streaming now.
SafetyFM.com. One man stands as a beacon of hope. Jim Posel, a veteran safety expert with over 3 decades of experience, now bringing his knowledge to you with Safety Wars. Engaging, informative, and always relevant. That's Safety Wars. Join the safety revolution with Safety Wars, available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts and videos.
I don't think people understand the true cost of negligence in construction. A suburban Madison contractor with a deadly track record is in hot water again. Already cited for fatal safety violations in 2022, the company was caught exposing workers to deadly fall hazards in February 2024. During a federal inspection, 6 employees were found working 12 feet up without protective gear. OSHA slapped them with 1 willful, 2 repeat, and 5 serious violations, proposing $144,505 in fines. Just 4 months ago, OSHA found similar hazards at another site, leading to more citations. Back in 2022, a worker was crushed by a 1,000-pound wall. The company was cited for 11 violations and has been a deadbeat and hasn't paid any of the penalties. OSHA's Chad Greenwood stated, "The company shows a blatant disregard for worker safety. Stay informed and stay safe. Visit safetywars.com. Listen to us on your favorite podcast platform as Safety Wars."
OSHA recordables, catastrophic losses, environmental disasters. You want answers? So do I. This is Jim Posel with Safety Wars.
That's my daddy!
Alright, so here we have, right, let's go, no, I might as well just go back into this. And back during the beginning of this program, almost 500 programs. By the way, congratulations, Jay Allen, on 1,200 programs here. The 5 stages of the issue attention cycle. So at the beginning of the show, meaning, like program 10, we talked about the issue attention cycle. And even from the beginning, environmental issues seem to be part of this. And with this. It was part of my graduate school work with dealing with communicating with the public on environmental issues and developing an accuracy thing, right? What they would call today fake news. I was talking about it 22 years ago. So here we have 5 stages. Here we have the pre-problem stage. A problem exists but gets little public or political attention. Experts and a few stakeholders may be aware, but the general public is not engaged. And then you have number 2, alarm discovery and euphoric enthusiasm. The public suddenly becomes aware of the issue, often due to a crisis, media coverage, or a major event. There is widespread enthusiasm and belief of the problem can be quickly solved. And then 3, what I call the O Gluvno stage. Realizing the costs of significant progress, people recognize that solving the issue requires major sacrifices, financial, political, or lifestyle changes. Enthusiasm begins to decline. And then number 4, a gradual decline of public interest. Attention shifts away from the issue and becomes less urgent or is replaced by new concerns. Media coverage and political pressure decline. Then you have the post-problem stage. The issue may remain on the agenda in a low-level way, meaning experts, agencies, or advocacy groups continue to work on it. However, it no longer dominates headlines or public debate. Now, what happens is, and this is a cycle, and it goes back up to number 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, or 4. And it may go from 4 to 2 to 3 to 5 and the whole thing. It is a cycle that we are dealing with. Probably should make a graphic on that. So what's my point here? It seems that, and it goes back and forth, depending on where you are, in the political cycle here. And with the cultural cycle and everything else that goes on out there, that one side always seems to be, this is it, right? That this is it. Well, it starts to get out of the public thought. Now we're going to go and we're going to have this other situation. And now it's back right up to the getting people all riled up. Tonight, where there's a special election in Minnesota because the former Speaker of the House of Minnesota and her husband were assassinated earlier this year. What was her name? Former Speaker of the House, Minnesota. Right? It is Melissa Hortman. Right? Right? Melissa Hortman and her husband. Right? Basically, earlier this year. Got a little bit of limited airplay. Got a little bit of things. It didn't hit the cycle. Right? And then what happens? Charlie Kirk happens. Now it goes right back up. And everybody has an interest in this. Because I tell you what, it's been on the news since this happened on Wednesday. Everyone's talked about it. We talked about it here. This one talked about that. Now it's a business. We have money involved. Everybody has been glued to the TV, seeing what's going to happen, seeing the coverage, seeing this, glued to the radio. And this is going to die out. I got news for you. This coverage is going to die out next week or two. And then something else will happen, and it'll get everybody to watch TV again and listen and go on the media and everything else. And now we're back to the cycle. And this is going on and on. The advantage that we have here, right, is that we're aware of this. No, I'm not talking safety wars, but as a society, we're starting to get aware of this, and people are getting a little bit fatigued. I know I am. Right? We're pointing this out, but I know. I didn't plan on talking about that, but I figured it was a good segue into that discussion. Now, OSHA outreach training. Let's talk about this. We talked about this before. All right, so it is disaster preparation month, right? And OSHA has out several. We're going to go into the other ones because it keeps on coming up from people who should know better on this, on outreach training. So what I did was OSHA has 4 outreach training programs. Some areas and some regions have more than that, right? So they have alliances with other organizations and everything else. And right, they have a different. So they may have other ones, like for electric and electrical workers, utilities, things of that nature. But I have all 4 credentials here: disaster, general industry, construction, and maritime. So we're going to talk about the disaster site worker stuff. And I have the latest procedure book here, October 1st, 2024. It's almost a year old. And they update these things periodically, and it's a very good practice. It's a very good practice to get into that every time you teach one of these classes. You review and see if they updated the procedures. Something that I do every time, all right? Because in case they sneak something in here, I'm not saying they're being sneaky, but, things happen. So we're going to go through here. Right? So share screen. Requirements for disaster site worker trainers authorized through the Occupational Safety and Health Administrative Outreach Program are contained here. All right. The worker, the overview. The purpose of the OSHA Outreach Training Program for disaster site workers is to provide necessary training to workers who provide skilled support or cleanup services in response to natural and man-made disasters. All workers at disaster sites need to be aware of the differences between disaster sites and regular construction or demolition work sites and be able to inspect, don, and doff air purifying respirators. This training is also intended to raise awareness that pre-incident training is essential to ensure worker safety and health in response to disasters. The OSHA Outreach Training Program is voluntary. Outreach training does not meet training requirements contained in any OSHA standard. So you cannot combine this with 40-hour HAZWOFER, for example. Some states and local jurisdictions have enacted legislation mandating OSHA outreach training to work on job sites and to fulfill safety training goals. However, the federal government does not mandate OSHA outreach training participation. And it goes on and on. So how do you get the trainer designation? Right, the experience is to become eligible, a person must at a minimum meet the following prerequisites, which consists of both a training and experience component. All right, so course requirements, you have to complete the OSHA 5600, the train the trainer course. Experience cannot be substituted for that. The course includes knowledge and performance-based tests and the completion of one of the following: a 40-hour minimum HAZWOFER training course within the past 5 years, or the 8-hour HAZWOFER refresher within the last 12 months. Possess journey and two, right? Or 2, one of the following. That's what possess journey level credentials in a building trade union. And there are different updates on here and everything else and different things. So there are 2 different courses here. There is a 7.5-hour course and a 15-hour course. It used to be 8 and 16, but OSHA cut down, as you know, no more than 7.5 hours a day for doing outreach training of any kind. So to teach the 7.5 or 15-hour course for disaster site workers, OSHA recommends that trainers use lesson plans or reference materials and provide student handouts which are distributed in the 5600 disaster site worker trainer course, or develop your own, which I have done. Right? It doesn't say or develop their own. They're your own. No, that's just a recommendation. The in-person training, and they also have in-person, right, for disaster site workers, must be conducted in person, and exceptions are not permitted, and training may not be conducted through any video conferencing platform, unlike the other ones. Maximum class size. Right, student-to-trainer ratio shall not exceed 10 to 1. right? Any more than that, you need a qualified helper. There are no student prerequisites for attending the 7.5 or 15-hour disaster site worker courses. So, I'll give you a little bit of thing. They started to encourage this after 9/11. I think they had it beforehand, but they decided to promote this after 9/11 because of the respiratory issues there. We went over that on Thursday last week on that. So, for the respiratory segment of the training, trainers will need the following: a half face or full face, a half face, full face, a half face, full face piece, negative pressure, and a powered air purifying respirator. Respirator with defective elements, so they can now see what a bad respirator is. Complete selection of respirator filters and cartridges for demonstration. And for every 2 participants, 1 half-face piece negative pressure respirator equipped with triple cartridges is required. So you have to have 3 different types of cartridges. And you have to have an evaluation. This section contains information on the procedures for conducting program classes for disaster site workers. Outreach trainers are responsible for understanding and complying with these procedures when planning and conducting their program classes. Going on, right, with this, going down. So here what you have. The 7.5 hour disaster site worker class are designated training topics, right? With that, trainers must cover all the following topics. OSHA has provided a typical length of each topic necessary to fulfill the objectives. Additional topics or modifications of training can be made to meet the needs of the audience. The total instructional time must be a minimum of 7.5 hours. The total training should emphasize hazard identification, avoidance, control, and prevention, not OSHA standards. So this is where I go into, with this course, I go into the hierarchy of controls. And basically, during a disaster, you have to have a reliance on, one, avoiding a problem, not becoming part of the problem. That's obvious. But number 2, we talk about how PPE is critical because you cannot control anything else on the hierarchy of controls. So we talk about characteristics of a disaster. We talk about hazard awareness of physical health and traumatic stress. PTSD is one of the topics, and as a trainer, we are trained in that. Tools and equipment safety, risk assessment, incident command system, hierarchy of controls, and PPE, and an exercise or workshop. Right? With that. For the 15-hour disaster site worker, trainers must cover all of the following topics. OSHA has provided the top. You know what? I forgot to share the screen. Oops, sorry, folks. So that's 7.5 hours, if you want to zoom in on that. Right? 15-hour disaster site worker, designated training topics. Trainers must cover all of the following topics. OSHA has provided the typical length of each topic necessary to fulfill the objectives of the course. Additional topics or modifications to the training topics can be made to meet the needs of the audience. The total instructional time must be that of 15 hours. This course is intended for advanced operational response. So you have an activity component. Participants will complete a theme workshop throughout the course as reinforcing the learning. The discussion of the notes made to complete the theme workshop will be facilitated at the end of the course to enhance retention and transfer of their knowledge back on the job. Of primary importance is the participant's ability to perform the following: inspection of an air purifying respirator, donning or doffing an air purifying respirator, respirator user seal check. The course will conclude with a final assessment in the form of an exercise that will measure the participants' mastery of all the course objectives. Training should emphasize hazard ID, avoidance, control, and prevention, not OSHA standards. Topics include as this: 1, characteristics of a disaster; 2, hazard awareness, physical health or traumatic stress; tool and equipment safety, risk assessment; Incident command. Remember, during the Uvalde school shooting, there was a breakdown in the incident command system. So that's like, but the incident command, that's all baloney. Well, guess what? It's actually critical with this, right? Hierarchy of controls, PPE, and an exercise and workshop, right? So that's what that is. And again, it's like all the other outreach trainings where you have to issue a report and you get credentials and everything else. Unfortunately, there's not a big push for this, right? Often offered for free by utilities, especially because they're the ones on the response organizations for things. So this is what this is. So we're going to move along to where are we? How many minutes? We have some other stuff planned, some videos, and we're going to call it a day right there, folks. I will see you tomorrow with this, where we're going to talk about construction outreach and some other stuff here. And this is just to clear up some confusion. So we'll be seeing you tomorrow. For Safety Wars and the Safety FM network, this is Jim Posel. Good night.
Understanding safety, a positive and practical approach. I begin all my safety training courses with the same question: what is safety? While there is no right or wrong answer, the responses provide insight into how the group perceives their safety culture. Answers often range from "no one gets killed" to "0 injuries" or "the absence of accidents." However, the perspective we promote is more optimistic and realistic. Safety is not the absence of accidents, it is the presence of controls. Controls are the safeguards we establish around hazards, or better yet, the elimination of those hazards altogether. This discussion transitions naturally into the concept of human and organizational performance, SHARP, a safety philosophy that takes a more positive, less punitive approach to managing employees and risks. Traditional safety 1. Workers are blamed for safety issues. 2. Safety failures are attributed to poor individual choices. 3. Safety is defined as the absence of incidents. 4. There is a reliance on individual heroism. 5. Bad actors are identified and eliminated. HOP approach. 1. Workers are incentivized to work safely through systems designed by management. 2. Management takes greater responsibility by setting up effective systems and leading by example. 3. Safety is defined as the presence of controls and safeguards. 4. Safety is seen as the resilience and capacity of a system to adapt to challenges and perform safely. 5. Systems are designed to be as fail-proof as possible. 6. Workers are chosen carefully, focusing on qualifications and compatibility with safety culture. 7. Recognizing that human error is normal, jobs are designed to be skills-based to reduce decision-making under pressure. Note: HOP does not eliminate the need for addressing human resources issues. If a worker refuses to perform a task, standard HR policies still apply. Human error is normal. Errors happen. Systems must be designed to allow errors to occur without leading to catastrophic failures. This involves creating safeguards where errors are detected and corrected safely. Blame fixes nothing. Blame does not resolve problems. The focus should instead be on identifying root causes and implementing solutions. Learning is vital. Managers often lack first-hand knowledge of field conditions. They must actively learn from workers to understand challenges and improve systems. Context drives behavior. Workers operate based on the context of their tasks and the knowledge they have at the moment. Deviations from plans are often driven by real-time conditions, incentives, or pressures to complete tasks quickly. Training and clear procedures help workers stay in a skills-based mindset rather than relying on ad hoc decision-making. How you respond to failure matters. As Todd Conklin says, management's response to failure telegraphs to the organization how serious they are about being resilient. If the response is negative, data will be hidden. If positive, the organization will deal with more information, some of it bad, but they will better understand how the world operates. Key takeaway. A negative reaction to failures leads to hiding information, while a constructive response fosters learning and improvement. For a general contractor, applying HOP might look like this. 1. Hire qualified people at the management level. 2. Select qualified contractors who have a positive corporate health and safety culture, demonstrate low total recordable rates, provide training records, equipment inspection records and detailed safety plans, and employ qualified safety personnel. 3. Choose companies that are also pursuing HOP principles. 4. Focus on implementing layers of controls or safeguards, rather than pursuing unrealistic zero-accident policies that often lead to underreporting or catastrophic failures. 5. Apply the 5 principles of HOP to create a safer, more resilient project environment. Safety requires the implementation of multiple controls. Key controls include knowledge and skills training, properly maintained equipment, industrial hygiene audits, compliance plans and enforcement, active employee involvement, air monitoring and sampling, emergency response procedures, and thorough accident and incident investigations that are not rushed. Each control adds a layer of protection. Missing one doesn't necessarily make a site unsafe, but having more layers reduces the likelihood of issues or catastrophic events. Safety is not about perfection, but about resilience and preparation. By focusing on controls, building systems that account for human error, and fostering a positive safety culture, we can create safer workplaces and stronger organizations. Let's continue building a safety culture where everyone is empowered to succeed. Jens Rasmussen, a renowned researcher in human factors and system safety, introduced a model describing how human behavior and decision-making vary based on the complexity of tasks. His model identifies 3 modes of work: skill-based, rule-based, and knowledge-based, each associated with specific types of errors and performance levels. Understanding these modes helps design systems that reduce errors and improve safety. Skill-based mode, SBM. Actions are automatic and highly practiced, requiring minimal conscious thought. Tasks are performed based on learned motor or cognitive patterns, often referred to as being on autopilot. Example: tasks include tying shoelaces and driving a familiar route without needing to think about every action. Errors in this mode include slips, which are unintentional actions like pressing the wrong button, and lapses, which are omitting steps in a familiar process due to distraction or inattention. Key characteristics of this mode are low mental workload, high efficiency, and errors typically arising when unexpected situations disrupt the automated process. Rule-based mode, RBM. Actions are guided by pre-established rules or procedures. Workers apply if-then logic to respond to known situations. Example tasks include following a troubleshooting flowchart and responding to alarms using standard operating procedures, or SOPs. Errors in this mode include rule-based mistakes like misapplication of rules, such as applying an incorrect procedure and failing to recognize when a rule is no longer valid. Key characteristics of this mode are moderate mental workload, reliable performance in predictable environments, and vulnerability to errors if the worker applies outdated or incomplete rules. Knowledge-based mode, KBM. Actions are based on problem-solving and reasoning when no rules or procedures exist for the situation. Workers must analyze the problem, form hypotheses, and devise solutions using their knowledge and judgment. Example tasks include diagnosing a novel system failure without available documentation and piloting an aircraft during an unexpected emergency. Errors in this mode include knowledge-based mistakes like misjudgments due to incomplete information and over-reliance on assumptions or flawed reasoning. Key characteristics of this mode are high mental workload, slower performance due to cognitive effort, and errors occurring due to lack of experience, insufficient training, or incomplete understanding. Rasmussen's model emphasizes that human performance and error rates are closely linked to the mode of work. Systems and tasks should be designed to keep workers operating in skill-based and rule-based modes whenever possible, while providing support for knowledge-based scenarios to mitigate errors. By aligning systems with human capabilities, organizations can improve safety, efficiency, and reliability.
Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, left behind many deep thoughts in his meditations. Check out these 20 powerful quotes full of Stoic wisdom. You are in charge of your mind, not what happens outside. Once you understand that, you will find real strength. The happiness in your life depends on the kind of thoughts you keep in your head. Stop wasting time talking about what a good man is supposed to be, just be one. It ain't death you should fear, but die regret of never truly living. If it not right, don't do it. If it not true, don't say it. Take time to enjoy the beauty in life. Watch the stars and see how you're part of something bigger. Don't let situations control your anger, cause them things don't business about your feelings. People go do what them go do no matter how much you stress about it. The pain from anger does cut deeper than what caused the anger in the first place. You don't need much to be happy. Everything starts inside your mind. A person's worth is measured by what they truly value. If you stop feeling hurt, the hurt itself disappears. Best revenge, now be like the person who do you wrong. Be patient with people, but be real strict with yourself. Live like you're already dead so you can use the time left to live properly. You always have the option to say nothing and keep your peace. The universe is always changing. Life is what your thoughts make it. Live every moment like it's your last. Look deep inside yourself. Strength always stay waiting for you. Everything you hear, just somebody's opinion, not fact. Everything you see, just a perspective, not die full truth. Marcus Aurelius's Stoic philosophy pushed discipline, strength, and clear thinking. Him words timeless, showing how Phi live a life full of purpose and virtue.
You're in charge of your mind, not what happened round you. Once you get that, you're strong. How happy your life be depend on the kind of thoughts you keep in your head. Stop talking about what a good man's supposed to be. Just be one. It ain't death you should fear, but living life and never really living at all. Marcus Aurelius once said, if it not right, don't do it. If it not true, don't say it. Another profound thought from Marcus Aurelius, take time to enjoy the beauty of life. Watch the stars and see how you're part of something big. And finally, Marcus Aurelius reminds us, don't let nothing outside of your control make you vex, because it don't care about your feelings. People go do what they go do, no matter how much you fret about it. The pain that comes from anger does hurt more than what caused the anger in the first place. You no need much to be happy. True happiness starts inside your own mind. Marcus Aurelius once said, your worth as a person depends on what you hold valuable. Another insightful thought from Marcus Aurelius, if you stop feeling hurt, the hurt itself disappears. And perhaps one of his most profound pieces of advice, the best revenge, don't be like the person who wronged you. Marcus Aurelius once said, be easy with other people, but real strict with yourself. Marcus Aurelius advised, live like you're already dead, and this is the time you get to live the right way. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, you always have the choice to stay silent and not pick up stress. Life always changing, but your thoughts, that's what shape your reality. Move through life like every act you do is the last thing you ever go and do. Look deep inside yourself. Strength always stay waiting for you. Everything you hear, just somebody's opinion, not fact. Everything you see, just a perspective, not thy whole truth.
Here are 10 notable quotes from Ayn Rand reflecting her philosophy of objectivism, individualism, and reason. The question isn't who is going to let me, it's who is going to stop me. A creative man is motivated by the desire to achieve, not by the desire to beat others. The smallest minority on earth is the individual. Those who deny individual rights cannot claim to be defenders of minorities. We can evade reality, but we cannot evade the consequences of evading reality. Freedom, to ask nothing, to expect nothing, to depend on nothing. Happiness is that state of consciousness which proceeds from the achievement of one's values. The ladder of success is best climbed by stepping on the rungs of opportunity. Do not let your fire go out sparked by irreplaceable spark in the hopeless swamps of the approximate, the not quite, the not yet, the not at all. Throughout the centuries, there were men who took first steps down new roads armed with nothing but their own vision. A man's ego is the fountainhead of human progress.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.